I was in such a weird, dark place. It was unbelievable. I didn't know what was reality, what was real. Um, Hearing voices was massive, massive hearing voices.
Happy days.
Hello, I'm Gareth,
I'm Jordan.
and we are from Make a Difference Project.
Sounds
sounds like a boy band.
X Factor audition.
Hey, right. So we're going to do our first podcast today, and then we're going to try and get some together for the next few weeks. Just with people that have turned their life around through what they're doing and got around mental health. And I've probably said "and" 5 times now. Yeah, and basically got themselves out of a hole. And today we're going to do our first podcast with Jordan asking me a few questions about psychosis.
Yeah.
What, Jordan?
So
Don't get nervous.
so we'll just get into. Just want to start with like sort of the mind frame of what you were in when at the worst time, like how it felt.
I thought you were going to ask how my pets are and shit. So, what was it? How my mindset was?
Yeah, like what was going through your head at that worst time?
Oh, a lot of things. So we're going to talk about psychosis, and it was something that my mindset was. It was in a weird place at a certain point, especially when substances got involved, like alcohol and that. I was in such a weird, dark place. It was unbelievable. I didn't know what was reality, what was real. Um, Hearing voices was massive, massive hearing voices, and it wasn't the missus either calling me. It wasn't, it wasn't good. It wasn't good voices. I know I'd make a joke out of this, but it's the only way I could try and get around this in my head, because it was the psychosis on its own was traumatic. It, I could look at probably at a Facebook post and think the post was about me when it wasn't, and think everyone's laughing at me, and they're not. Do you know what I mean? I would get so far into it that I was very confused, very overwhelmed, very hurt and very angry.
So did you think like you were the only one that knew the truth at that point? Like you.
I thought everyone was against me. I thought this whole world was a like Truman Show, basically like the
Really?
Truman Show. If you've seen the Truman
Yeah.
Show, yeah, I thought it was basically like that. At some points, I'd wake up and think these are all plotting against me. Everyone's plotting against me, and this is not real. And it's when you're so far into it, yeah, it's quite worrying looking back on it, and it absorbed a lot of my energy and my life from trying to get a normal life around that was quite hard. I don't know.
And how? Yeah, how? Because obviously you had the gym at that point.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
had the
trained.
gym. I was. I think when I was fully into psychosis, I'd already stepped out of the gym, but it was setting into play when I had the gym, because 2019 I got diagnosed, and we was going into lockdown. I was trying to live the best day to day life I could, and it was starting to creep in quite quite frequent then. And I spoke to my psychiatric doctor about it, because I used to get weekly meetings with him. And then when we went into COVID, it was on
Zoom.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was starting to creep in a bit. But I was hearing voices and seeing things. You sort of see things as well and believe it's real. But I was like pulling myself out of it, because I had a bit of a focus with the gym, and I would never put anybody at jeopardy or at harm. So I knew I spoke to my doctor and the psychologist and psychiatric nurse about this, and said, this is what I'm seeing. I'm at the gym. They was just keep on urging me to keep on doing what I'm doing, keep active, and give me medication and stuff like that. And the medication did like sort of take bits out of it, but it was slowing me down, and I was on jobs because I was decorating still. I was running a business still as well as a gym. I was still doing everything, but it was making me very slow.
Mhm.
and slurry. And my best mate was like, me and him was doing shop refurbs. He said, Gareth, you're slurring a bit. I said, am I? I said, I think I'm all right. He said, yeah. And me and him was talking about it. And it's like, when you're at that point, you don't want to be like that around people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to help me and the medication's trying to help me, but yeah, it's like it was subduing me. So it was sort of numbing everything and covering over, but yeah, it just wasn't great. And I was still running a gym, I was still doing normal day stuff, kids playing, taking them out. But when you got these things coming into your mind, it's
So, do you think when you had that thing that was keeping you occupied, you were able to stick with it and focus on that? But the moment that everything stepped back, that's when it sort of kicked. When your kids like when you didn't have time, like you didn't have your kids around, or you like I don't know, drop them to school, whatever, and then that was it. Like step back and
yeah,
you
your
were stuck in
brain,
your own head.
oh, and 100%. Because my brain's really active anyway, and I'm quite 100 miles an hour. As soon as you're sat there and you're trying to focus on something, like even if it's PlayStation used to help me to try to focus on that, you just think you have little things popping into your head, and you don't want it to. It's not you're not thinking about that. It just comes into your head anyway.
Yeah,
And it's being ADHD is bad enough without other stuff popping into your head, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
you're trying to think, oh no, I'm just stupid thoughts. It's just stupid thoughts. And then when they're getting stronger and that, and then you're talking to your mental health team about this, it's worrying. It is worrying. And then they change your medication and they change this and that, and then it's not great. It's not great, and it sort of makes you a bit angry inside. And I used to get spurts of like I get like just want to shout because I just wanted this noises and the voices to stop. And yeah, it's very frustrating. At the early, like I've had this on and off quite a lot of my life, and that's when I talked to them. That's why they put me to the psychiatric team. But like I think with stuff that was going on in my life, it was getting worse. Like relationships and things like that was getting it's sort of getting worse, and like, you can't deal with life. And I think things triggering you that was happening then was triggering me about my past, and it's sort of like enlightened it a lot more in my brain. And yeah, things started getting quite bad over a few years.
And did you still have the voices when you were with your kids when you were doing the in the gym, or did they just completely disappear when?
It's weird because it's like when you're doing stuff, like you hear stuff, but you try and oh, no, it's just stupid. I'm not listening to that, and then you blame with the kids, and then you sort of like forget about it. Do you know what I mean? But then once you're left on your own to your own devices, it just sort of like enlightens a lot more.
So they're still there. The voice is still there, even.
It was it wasn't to the point where they was telling me to do anything. No, it wasn't to that point. It was just like I don't know. I just like you look at things and go, "Ah, that don't look real and that don't look right." And um, I said to my best mate about it. I said you'd be talking to someone and you be just thinking strange things when you're talking to them, and it'd be violent as well. And it was quite when it was getting to the end of it. That's when I started worrying and started thinking this is not right, and talking more to the psychiatric team about it. And that's when they give me the medication. But um, yeah, if I was doing something or teaching or whatever else, it wasn't that strong as it was when I left, when I closed the gym down and everything. It wasn't that strong. It was like sort of bits coming into my head, but nothing like it was when I'd had that breakdown. Nothing at all. That was probably the worst I've ever been, and probably the most scared I've ever been. Because everything else I could deal with, everything else I could do. You get the odd strange thought, the bit that you don't know what's real, and then you sort of try and get around that with the medication and that. But when I had that breakdown in March 2023, was it? Or maybe 22, 22 or 23, whenever it was. That was when things was like, that's when I was just like, I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Couldn't keep going like that.
No, no, no. And it got to the point where I thought certain things was helping me, um, and they wasn't. They probably making it worse.
What sort of things?
Cocaine. So never did nothing at work, at the gym, or I did it when I was at home, to try and stop stuff at the end of it. When it started getting to the end, it started off a recreational thing like everybody does, and then it started getting like weekends. And then, like my caseworker in the Harbour Centre said, it will stop you and make you calm because of the way my brain works. Like Ritalin would for me, it would calm me down. She said to me, Abby, she said a lot of things will self medicate and feel like that's you because everybody else around me will be like wired and I'll be like sat chilled. And it seemed to help, seemed to take the edge off. Um, yeah, and it wasn't great. It was all right to start with, and then it started getting worse.
And that's when the addiction and the
Yeah, it started getting into so I closed the gym down, and I was trying to help myself the best way I could, um, by doing this stuff because I didn't want to be on the other medication because it was making me feel very, very monged out, very very drowsy, just very like lost my buzz about myself, and I've had enough of being. I was on Valium as well for 22 years. You know what I mean? The doctor gave me Valium for 22 years to try and deal with the way my brain works, and it's just like I've had enough. Um,
do you think the gym almost, I know obviously kept like sort of hiding it and you sort of bury yourself in your work to sort of distract yourself,
mm,
but do you think the gym also in that way sort of saved you?
the gym saved me, no two ways about it. You know, I've drank and did things weekends that all my friends did. Do you know what I mean? Went out, we went to raves, went to loads of things. The weekend was the weekend, and you can work all week and everything to stop. Um, but the gym saved me. Do you know what I mean? I was very caught up in trauma that had gone on from childhood upwards. If it happened to no matter if it happened to me, my family, or whatever, it was just something that was stuck in my head. And I was quite angry as a person, quite confused of why my brain was like it was. Um, until I talked to this psychiatric team and my mental health team, and they were saying about the traits that I had about ADHD and autistic traits, and how my brain was processing stuff. But um, I thought that when I went into one of my friends said, "Do you want to come with me to City Bus kickboxing?" I did a bit of boxing as a kid with one of the blokes who won the Marine. He was actually a Royal Marine as well. He just used to help us with a bit of boxing. But I went to the City Bus kickboxing club and I loved it. It was something that I needed. I needed an outlet. I was fighting quite a lot. I was fighting probably every week, and it was ruining my life. I would have ended up getting put inside because I don't know, because of my brother probably. He had a bit of a name for himself. People used to sort of start him in quite a lot, and I used to feel like panicky. I used to get bullied quite a bit, and it was getting me to a bad place. So I think kickboxing sort of like give me a bit of an outlet, give me a bit of like, give me something that I could just let out my anger, sort of punch something, or you know what I mean, or do something that I like doing. I did like enjoy doing it. Do you know what I mean? It was really good, um, and I honestly believe that if it weren't for that sport to start off with, that I would be in jail or something would have happened to me. Someone would have done something to me, or I would have got jumped or something because of some stupid vendetta or whatever, and I would, yeah, something would have happened to me. Big believer in that.
And so now, like, when you finished with, obviously you went down and had that breakdown,
Yeah.
what what was the thing that sort of helped you get out of that? What was the turning point? What was the
Um, I think leading up to the breakdown was me being in. So I was in a recovery program with Harbour Centre. with Abby was my caseworker. She was my counsellor as well. Do you know what I mean? She was an amazing lady. I did bump into her last year. The Treasury. I was not drinking. I went through spats of like keeping myself sober and just not even drinking or doing nothing. And she said how far I went and how proud she was of me, and that sort of made me quite chuffed with myself. Um, get myself back again.
Yeah. What did you? When did you? Because it's common that when people need help, regardless of how much they need help, if they don't want to help themselves, then it's always gonna you're always gonna return back to the old habits.
Right. I'm gonna tell the fucking honest truth here, right? I wanted the help. I've always wanted the help all along. Don't matter what kind of mental health team I had, or what support that I got in and out of, and then they leave me on waiting lists. The only time things started getting better was when I went to be sexually screened at the ship. Um, I got with somebody and they wanted to get sexually screened, and I'm a big believer of things happen for reasons. They see my past and they said, "Do you want any therapy for this? Because it's on the computer." And I said, "Yeah. What are you offering?" And they said EMDR therapy, rapid eye movement. I said, "It's funny because I've been chasing the mental health team and asking about alternative therapy because all the therapy they was giving me, all the counselling I've had, it seemed to always be there in my head, something niggling, something that was breaking down, it's something that was making me angry all the time. Do you know what I mean? Because when you've gone through childhood trauma, you'll never get rid of that. It come back in your head. Things will trigger you. Relationships, things, certain things that people do will trigger you, and you'll just be a big fight all the time. You'll be fighting in your brain constantly, and that therapy. When I went in there, the lady said to me, said, "This bloke don't pull no punches." She said, "He will give it to you straight." And I said, "That's what I want."
That's what
I
you
said,
need.
I'm fed up of being in front of a therapist going, uh-huh. And how do you feel about that, Mr. Russell? And I ended up starting questioning them because you're not even fucking helping me by doing that. You're not showing no empathy, not doing nothing. But when I seen him, he made me believe that I was going to get through this. And he said, "I'm going to get you better, and I don't want you to just question it. That's it." He pulled some shit out of my brain that I didn't even know was there about my childhood. I knew something had happened, but I didn't know what. And he fucking pulled out what. Um, I knew other stuff had gone on in the family and whatever else, but he pulled it out. And that was when I could finally, because I tried changing so many times, tried getting myself back in the right place over the years, always have done, fighting, doing everything else, trying to get myself in the best place I could, and it always come back. And the only way you can usually get around things, and whatever people do, they mask it. So I
Hmm.
masked it with drink, and I masked it with other stuff. And for times it worked, and then I got back into fitness. Fitness helped, fighting helped. Stayed brilliant. Didn't drink. Um, yeah, and that was the pinnacle that it changed. That the MDR therapy last February. That was it took all this fucking time to me to get this therapy, which I was on a waiting list for nearly 20 years, and it kept on going on. They're not taking you off. They're not taking you off this. Then they're fighting to get put back on again, and then I got it. So that was when it was February last year when actually they made me believe.
So you always wanted to help, just never knew where you
Oh,
could
they
go
give you
to
that for so
actually.
long, and then they sign you off, and then if oh you're fine now, and they sign you off, you're not fine. You're telling them you're still struggling. I told every psychiatric team that I've seen, I'm not right still. Yeah, but we think you are on the right tracks. Yeah, but there's something in my head. Oh, we'll try and sign you up for some other therapy. Oh, we'll get you on the waiting list for this. It was always a waiting list. Always the NHS put you on a waiting list, waiting list. So you leave you fighting in your own head what's going on, fighting your thoughts, fighting your psychosis that they've already told you got. Do you know what I mean? And you're hurting. I, I was so far in. I was hurting so much. All I wanted to do was kill my dad. That is the honest, gosh, honest truth. Hated that man. Now I can talk about him and I pity him. I pity him, and karma's just going to come, and I pity him. I don't feel no anger anymore. I was constantly angry, angry at what I'd done to my mum, family, everything. Angry, me, and now all I do is I just think you're just not even worth my breath. When I turn up to my nan's funeral in Wales. I knew he wouldn't come. I was glad he didn't because I told him if he come, I'd kill him. And I'm glad he didn't. And now, all I feel is just, I just feel pity, and that's it.
I, do you want to go more into detail about your
Yeah, okay.
childhood? Like what bits would you like would you be happy to share?
Look, at the end of the day, my dad was not a very nice man to my mum, to any of us, right? I knew something had gone on because I kept on getting visions of him on top of me all the time, and I didn't know why. And when I had this therapy, he pulled out some stuff I didn't realise. And yeah, this bloke is not a very nice man. He did it to other people, and I know for a fact he's done it to other people, because yeah, because of I had like other family, like in other places, yeah, and I know. So that was it, yeah. Just look, when you go through stuff and you see stuff when you're younger and things that happen that shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
happen to any family, your fucking brain's gonna be messed up. It don't matter what they say. People don't know what goes on in someone's brain, and never judge anybody about just how your life was. Show empathy on their part, and I always have done that. I didn't. I sort of blamed everyone else for what had happened to me, kind of thing. You know, when you go through Christmases of having no fucking presents, no nothing, you're blaming your mum at the end of the day. I didn't know what she went through, and then I started to resent her, and it's just, do you know what I mean? You resent other people, and it's just a
Do you think that came from a place of not understanding why
probably I
what
didn't
was going through
understand
your
what
head?
she
Like,
went through. When he
um,
was breaking her nose and fucking smashing her face in, do you know what I mean? I seen it the next morning. I can remember back from when I was 4 years old. I remember the shit that went on. My brain, I used to explain this all to the psychotherapist. Do you know what I mean? And it's not. No one should grow up in a household like that. Violence constantly, and you fucking hearing screaming, and just, you know, it's not fucking nice. And your brain's just like fucking broke her jaw so many times, nose, and just shit that goes on and stuff. You know, I don't see how like an 18-month child has fell out of his cot and got a fractured skull. That was me. Like really? You fell out of your cot and got a fractured skull? I don't think that's fucking true. It's just a lot of shit that went on, and
mhm.
it just wasn't right. And you're remembering this, and you're going through your life, and then you're getting angry, and you're trying to deal with this in your brain all through your life. And no wonder I fucking had this stuff going on, and I could hear these voices, and I didn't know what was real. And it just used to come into your life, and then being an MOD kid, you just move all around all the time, and you get bullied constantly. And then my mum would move she's like a traveller, would move every couple of years, and I'm in another estate, and I'm fucking getting bullied again constantly. Do you know what I mean? And it's fucking this shit, constantly being fucking, just constantly thinking all the time. What's my mum gonna do now? Who's she gonna have coming in her house now? What other blokes are me coming in? Because you know what I mean. It was just not right. No family should grow up like this. You know, what man's going to be in fucking coming out the room in the mornings and just drink and just fucking shit going on in the house? No one should grow up around. And it just made me just fucking just very confused and very like confused about how my brain was working anyway, because of these, like the way I am, the way they said that all this the fucking ADHD stuff, and like I didn't know about this. This was nothing. You was just a troubled kid probably, like couldn't concentrate. But yeah, I was trying to deal with that as well, trying to deal with all the other stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's just normal stuff that fucking people deal with, but I couldn't deal with everything at once. It was all too much.
I don't know whether you know, but did you think the ADHD and the other things made it worse? Because obviously, with all the thoughts that are coming through your head, 1,000 miles an
Oh
hour.
fucking hell, man! It's like spaghetti junction. Your brain's like spaghetti junction anyway. Without all the rest of the shit going into your head, you know what I mean? You got fucking neighbours. The best place I ever lived was fucking Effort. My mum, even though she moved to Effort, it's the longest place we ever stayed. Longest place we ever stayed. And when she fucking moved again to Stonehouse, I do, man. Let's move to Stonehouse when everyone's fucking fighting with each other. So we moved to there. I still went back to Effort, and people used to look out for you. Do you know what I mean? It was no council neighbourhood. Everyone's looking out for you. You alright, Gareth? Do you want some food? Do you know what I mean? I felt actually fucking loved for once. I actually felt loved, and people fucking cared about you. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it was actually nice. And then all I ever wanted to do was be loved. All I ever wanted to. Probably my brother and sister were exactly the same. All you want to do is be loved. And when you grow up in a fucking violent household that's exactly like that, you just look at other people's lives and you think, do you know what? I want to be like you. I want your fucking all the St Jude's people and that, and people in Africa and that. Just when we was at school, they show their presence. I was turning up in Tesco fucking football boots and shit. Do you know what I mean? It's just you just yeah. It,
So do you think you were just searching for a place, like when you went back to Efford, you had that
fucking
community,
home. Somebody
the,
fucking people that loved you.
and the community was the biggest thing for you,
Fuck
like
me.
having people that you knew. You could go around, like you walk the street and they'd say hello, and they'd
They take you fucking in. Do you know what I mean? Give you food. The Foxes, Dennis Fox, fucking legend. Used to fucking feed us all the time. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have much as a family. One of the biggest families in Effort. They had fucking so many kids, but he used to take you in. Do you know what I mean? And fucking, do you want some food, boy? And just give you food. So I was only 15 then. Do you know what I mean? Going back to Effort every night. We used to walk up there. You know, I was a little shit probably back then. Was getting into all sorts of trouble, but people used to look out for you. Like Lizzie Stevens and all. I would talk about quite a lot to people. She she was like kind of one of the older Afro ladies who looked up to. She had a, they didn't have fucking much either. No one had much back then. And she always used to say, "Oh, you right, boy? Everything all right? Just make sure you're fine." And then I still remembered that when she was ill with cancer. I remembered that fucking a lot. And then I turned up and I made sure I was at her house all the time. Do you know what I mean? Until the time that she passed of cancer. And I promised her that I'd carry on doing this. I promised her that I would. Because when I set up the gym, the boxing gym, all I wanted to do was put back into the community, like, and help people like I was when I was younger. That was going through troubled lives. That was kids. That was fucking parents that were sort of giving up on, like the Jordan Cobbs and that. Do you know what I mean? His school thought he was a troubled kid. He wasn't. He was just fucking just confused. He had a good mum and that. He was just confused. I think he was probably on the spectrum. Do you know what I mean? But he just wanted to be. He wanted to have something around him. I think, and all the other kids like Josh and people like that we worked with and sort of got themselves in a better place and their grades at school. So all I wanted to do was help people. And then when Lizzie said that to me when I went down her house and she's fucking dying of lung cancer, she said to me, "You're sent here for one reason and one reason and one reason. Fucking hell. One reason and one reason only to help people. You make sure you do that without God." Garth. Just call me Garth. Okay, just to piss me off. I made sure that I did it. And even though I broke away and I sort of closed down the gym, then me and you made this fucking deal. And I said I want to be part. I want to be able to come back. I made sure that I just needed to get myself better because I wanted to carry on doing that, and doing it with you now is just like sort of what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? I knew that I had to get myself right. I knew I still want to help people because that's all I've ever wanted to do is just help people that's had a shitty life. It's had a shitty life. They just need a bit of a family around them, and a gym is a family. Do you know what I mean? That's all I wanted to do. And I think that's why that we've joined together and literally tried to make this work because people shouldn't have to live like this. They shouldn't have to live pushed out by the NHS and the mental health team because the mental health team will leave you if you don't turn up for an appointment. They will leave you if you fucking don't do something right, and it's not right. Do you know what I mean? You should have another outlet, and like this is another outlet, and it's helping me so much because psychosis is something that can come back anytime for any traumatic fucking situation, but I'm keeping it at bay because this year will help me keep it at bay. Do you know what I mean? I can have a fight with myself and my brain all the time. If a thought comes into your head, everyone gets stupid thoughts coming into their head, and you sort of go fuck off. I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to this shit. All I want to do is just help. And when I'm in that gym, even when I had that breakdown, I got myself better. I got extra help, and I went into Darren's gym, and it's sort of made me have a bit of like, oh, do you know what? I've got to worry about the bills, worry about nothing else for a minute. I got all I can do. All I want to do is just turn up and help one kid, learn how to box and whatever else. That was good enough for me at that time.
Do you think that also, then again, going back to that community thing, Darren's gym at Legends, it gave you that community again because you've got that family with Darren,
Yeah,
with
because the gym was a.
the
Do you know
kids.
what? That was a fucking hardest thing to have to close down. That was this gym. Hardest thing to do. But when you have a shit accountant, when you
Yeah.
have a shit accountant, it puts you under massive amounts of stress. That I was under. The fines was coming in so bad. Like, what? I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what else to do. My brain was mashed. I made sure everyone was paid. There was no one that was not paid. Do you know what I mean? When it was closed down, but I just like fucking. It was just too much. It was too much for the pressure I was under anyway, with my own head, with the relationship I was in that was breaking down, with just other stuff that was going on, and it was just too much. But
So let's sort of recap everything. So with everything you've gone through and everything that you have experienced, where would you what if you could put like a few things together to say this is what helped you? Not saying it will help everyone else, but just what helped you to get to the place you are now and to start to rebuild your life and get back on track. What would you say they were?
I think for me it was finding the right help. Like you do go through these different avenues, and they send you to these different places and different counsellors and things like that. I think it's sticking with it and probably trying. I think if there was more outlets like we're going to do, I think that probably would have helped me a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you've got somebody who's come from university, and they're trying to bless them, they're trying to get you better, but then they're just reading from a textbook. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it helps anybody. I
Mm-hmm.
do not think it helps anybody. And everyone, all these years of me struggling, even when I was in a bad place, I was on my phone every morning helping people. I think if there was more outlets like that, not obviously late at night, you will get them late at night that are staying open, but if there was more outlets like that, that sort of like knew where you was coming from, knew how you felt, knew what you'd been through, and how they could try and push you in the right direction, I think that would help a lot more than you just going to see a team that's just been to university and they don't really give a shit, right? They're just doing their job. They can show empathy to a certain extent, but it's just they don't go that extra mile. And I think local groups that are set up do go that extra mile. I
Mm-hmm.
think they do, and there's so many of them in the southwest. It's brilliant.
And it's coming from a place of passion rather than a place of I'm just doing this because
For
it's
a
my job.
job, yeah. Sometimes go that extra mile. Sometimes work 2 hours extra that's in your time and give them an extra phone call. Do you know what I mean? To see if they're all right, to see if they're doing the task that you give them. It's just it just needs to be a little bit more. And I think of all the different places I went as well as that EMDR therapy. I'm not going to diss as well the AA and the CA really because they sort of helped me as well. So if you are struggling as well, and especially you're struggling with addiction, Harbour and that are brilliant as well. And a lot of people that are in Harbour are in the AA and CA, Cocaine Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, and Gamblers Anonymous. Do you know what? These people help because they have been there as well, and they do help. And I think that helped me dramatically as well as my therapy. I think going into that AA program, even though I thought when I put that post up on Facebook and I said I'm an addict and an alcoholic, that don't mean I was an addict and alcoholic then. It means I was an addict and alcoholic, or what I thought I was, because I believed there was something wrong. Because I was going through long times of sobriety before then. Do you know what I mean? But eh, they helped me like with my day-to-day tasks that I probably would have thought a little bit more of a challenge. Do you know what I mean? Help me like gauge in my brain how to live my life a lot better. Be a bit kinder to somebody. Be a bit more flipping. understanding and seeing out of other people's eyes a bit more. And I thought they did, and I'll give them their fucking props for that. You know, they helped me dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people, if people are struggling, that's a good outlet to look at. It doesn't work for everybody, and to be honest, I realised I was not an alcoholic. Um, I was just a cocaine addict. That's all I was, and as long as I stay away from that shit, my life would be fucking fine. Because that will grab your hold. It will manipulate you. It will give you even more psychosis, which is not a good thing. Cocaine will mess your brain up so bad and make you believe something's going to happen. It made me have such bad thoughts. It's not a good thing. And once I realised that that was my demons and that didn't help me, then my life's been a lot easier. A lot easier. I can go out now after that therapy. I can have a few drinks and shut off and go home with the missus or my mates and go sleep. Before, when you're under trauma and I didn't have the EMDR therapy, I'm just trying to cover up all sorts of trouble. And then you go drinking, then you go another day drinking, then you 3 day drinking a weekend. That's no good to nobody. That's you covering up shit that's in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that so many times in pubs. You're looking at people in pubs, that's all their life is, because they're covering up shit. And when you talk to these people, most of them are covering up trauma. And a lot of drinking is covering up. And it's just realising. And when you go to these AA recoveries, it helps you realise that. Help me realise that as well. That, you know, slow down for God's sake. You don't need to drink all weekend. You haven't got nothing to cover up anymore. And I think if you just speak to people as well that are going for this, and sort of saying this helped me, it may not help you. Give it a try. Give AA a try, or give CA a try, or give Harbour Centre. Get to Harbour Centre. It could work. There's other things. There's other therapies that you can go to that may work. Do you know what I mean? There's so many.
And what? Yeah, that's it. What was so the EMDR therapy? If there's anyone that's thinking about doing it, what was it? What is it?
Right, so it's rapid eye movement. So when you go to sleep and you're going into dream mode, your eyes go from left to right. So this is you in your brain just processing stuff, and that's when you start falling into your dream pattern. So what it does, it literally, he pulled out. He's amazing. I think he's a wizard. He pulled out all this trauma, and then all of a sudden, it cover over like, so you'll break down, you'll fry. You're thinking, I didn't even know that was in my head, and then they say, right, it's fine, and then it sort of like give you like from 10 downwards, so you're still feeling that feeling, and then all of a sudden, when you get to like 1 and 0, it's just disappeared with like a. I remember one thought that come up my head. It disappeared when I was like 4. We had like a rabbit called Snowy. We had a vegetable patch in our garden, and I remember eating the peas at the vegetable patch, like fresh peas, and I was happy then. Do you know what I mean? I I knew something was going on. I could hear it, but I was sort of like happy in my own little world. And that it covered up with that. And it was like Star Trek when everyone disappears in that flipping that lift. That's what it did to the trauma that he pulled out of one of my traumas. And I'm like, fuck. He went, don't question this, Gareth. He said, just carry on. I'm like, mate, you don't realise what that just did. And then over I think it was 9 weeks, I went to him. And like every trauma he pulled out, sometimes it won't go that week and he'll have to work on it again. Because there's a lot of shit you pull out your brain. But that worked for me. The counselling, some counselling will work for some people. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of options you got to go through. And I think you need to fight sometimes with your doctors and the mental health team, and turn up for your appointments. Because if you don't turn up, they'll just kick you off.
They'll just chuck you
and
off.
then you're lost again in the fucking world. Do you know what I mean? And they won't get you back. You've got to fight for that, and it takes you ages.
Mm-hmm. Where we go from this? I don't really know.
I don't know either. Where did we go?
We could just keep chatting for hours.
Yeah, I could do. We've got a meeting to go to.
Yeah. So we're going to go to the meeting today, friends and families, to chat about how we can work with them. So they work with disabled families, and how we could, because obviously that's a massive there's a massive mental toll on that as well, and on those families. So we're going to speak to them, see what we can work with them to help people with. So we got a chat. I think it's in about a half hour, 40 minutes.
Probably have to rush.
Yeah.
But got to be in it to win it. Yeah.
So we're gonna do that. We'll get a room in this gym. We want to look at getting a room in the gym set up.
Because we are in talks actually, and I've got to have a meeting. This lady's going to phone me up so me and you can meet her. An EMDR therapist that works for Royal Navy, and she's been watching my TikToks, and she knows my missus, and she wants to get involved in us because of what we're doing. Um, and I'll write them. I've spoke about all my traumas all up front because I think if anybody wants to bring anything out about me, all right, and try and hold something against me, it's already out there. The atmosphere already knows what I've gone through in my life. I've talked about it to university students. I've done mental health talks. You know, I've talked about trauma and that. So this lady's she's gonna work with us, and she hopefully will have this room where she can give a bit of EMDR therapy to certain people, and a counsellor as well that I have just spoke with on my estate where I live. I've known her a little while. I've done work for her years ago. She wants to work with us as well, so it's another thing. So the room that we want to set up in here would be a great counselling room, and I think it would be a great
Mm-hmm.
impact for Plymouth, um, because stuff that I've been dealing with on my own before me and Jordan got together. The way the system stretches is just it's no good. This is not working. So I think more us working with smaller organisations and trying to work together and getting more help for people in our organisations outside the NHS, I think would work a lot better, much better.
No, definitely. And I think it's about now working together as different charities, different organisations working together rather than just being on their own. We're hopefully sorting out a meeting as well with a few other big organisations. I don't want to say anything too much yet,
No,
but and second guess ourselves. But yeah, so we've got a load of things coming in the pipeline. But I think it is just about supporting each other and working together, and because I think there's links with every single charity that we're all fighting the same battle. We're all
yeah, we'll
trying to.
fight the same fight. We've always got to stand together and fight this as one. To be honest, it should be on your own trying to help people. It should be as a massive like unit kind of thing, where if we can't help somebody, push it to somebody else, or there's got to be some avenue of another organisation who's got to help. And I don't think there should be like an organisation standing on their own going, "Oh, we can do this best." It's not. We can do it together. The NHS can't do it on their own. Do you know what I mean? So don't think anyone else is going to. We're not big enough for that. So if we join together, I think it'd be a lot easier for everyone, and that help everyone a lot better. To be honest.
No, definitely. But I think if you got anything to add, anything you
Watch
want to,
out for the
thank
next
you.
podcast because right, the next podcast is not going to be so in depth as that, right? Because that was it took a lot of my little brain, right, and my brain's a lot there. It took me back for a few bits, but I didn't get stuck in anything because of the MDR therapy. It's helped me a lot. So I ain't going to be angry. I'm going to go out and I don't know, kick a fox or anything. I'm just gonna be grateful that we're gonna have these next podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
That we're gonna have a bit of like humour in that when we're doing it with a few people that are quite successful in Plymouth, and they have had problems, mental health and that, and they've turned their lives around. And it'd be nice to find out how they did it. Do you know what I mean? How they turned their lives, how
Yeah.
they, if they're still struggling slightly, or how they deal with it. And it'd be nice to show someone else's point of view. And I've had so many people on TikTok that's writing stuff that they would like to get involved in these podcasts as well. How they've turned their life around would be quite nice.
And I think like thank you for you like being so open to talking about your experiences, because obviously if there's one person that's listening to this that it could help, that's the goal. That's the aim with
Yeah,
this. Is like we're not looking to, we just want to help one person. If
yeah.
one person gets help from this, then we've done what we need to do and we've done what we wanted to do.
It is because it's not about sympathy. I don't want none of this is any of it is about sympathy. I've done these talks and that just to get it out there. The only way I can get around this is by myself. I can't blame anyone else for what's happened to me, but it didn't help with certain situations. So I think if you believe that you can do this yourself, you can get out of these problems yourself. It's not our fault what's happened to us, or things that have happened to us as children, or as we're growing up, or traumatic relationships, or anything that could have happened to anybody. Do you know what I mean? It's just how you can rebuild from that and how you can come back and show that there's, you can't sitting there and dwelling is not going to make you better, not going to help you. Getting up and fighting the fight and never giving up, as the motto from the gym always said, never give up. You'll get through this, and you will get through it.
No, so thank you.
That's all right, my man. Thank you. Let's get to
Right.
this meeting,
Yeah.
eh?